Hey everybody, CVH here, and today we're back with another Budget of 5 video. But this isn't going to be like a normal Budget of 5 video. The plan today is going to be a bit different. In the normal Budget of 5 videos, what I do is take a look at an established archetype with a popular list on the ladder, and then I make it more budget friendly by removing all of the epics and legendaries with commons and rares from Heroes of Skyrim and the core set. Expansions that you don't need to buy with money or gold to get the cards from. But in today's video, we're going to start a little bit of a sub-series within the Budget-ify series, going over the pre-constructed starter decks, some of which you can see right in front of you. There's actually a fifth one, the Parthenax's Roar. That's the one I got for free myself, but each of these are 500 gold in the store, 50 card, ready-to-play themed decks that contain the legendary that's in the title. So for example, the Aela's Companions deck is going to give you Aela the Huntress, and this is actually the deck we're going to be doing in today's video. So what I'm going to be looking at with this are the cards that we should keep, the cards that we should take out. This deck is ready to play on the ladder, however, there are definitely some replacements to be made, and I'm going to be sort of giving you guys general idea of where I think this deck could go, but I'm going to be doing that in regards to the Budget-ify constraints. I'm also going to be not including any epics or legendaries that aren't already in the starter deck, so if you just spend 500 gold and you want to make this deck a bit more consistent and a bit more ready for ladder, but you don't have any of the more expensive cards, I'm just going to be putting in commons and rares from the core set in Heroes of Skyrim like any other Budget-ify video, but with the baseline of the Aela's Companion starter deck. So let's buy this deck and get right into it and talk about some replacements. Okay, so this is the Aela's Companions deck in the Collection Manager. As you can see, this is a fairly aggressive warrior deck. We budgetified mid-range warrior on the channel before, and that might be a video worth checking out if you're interested in this particular pre-constructed deck. But this deck is also taking advantage of the werewolf cards that came out in Heroes of Skyrim, the Circle Initiates, the Aela's Huntmate, the Aela herself is also a werewolf. It's nice that we can include that as well. And, Companion Harbinger, the Grim Shield Brother. These are just werewolf cards that when you break one of your opponent's runes, they transform into their beast form, which gives them extra stats, and a lot of the time an extra beneficial effect as well. So that's the basic game plan we're going to be trying to get out there. I would call this deck mid-rangey. Not quite as fast as a straightforward aggro deck, but when in doubt, hit the face would be my go-to plan with this deck, and so I'll be keeping it in line of that aggression, keeping a low magic curve. As you can see, a high emphasis on the 2-cost and 3-cost cards in this version, but basically this deck does suffer from a problem that a lot of budget decks do. It's a little bit all over the place, does have some odd 1-ofs and 2-ofs in this deck. Not really any card that doesn't really fit the theme so much, just some 1-ofs and 2-ofs that could be turned into other things for more consistency. So that's what we're going to be trying to do, make this deck just a bit more consistent with some reasonable replacements. So let's get started. For starters, I'm going to be cutting some cards that I don't think really need to be in the deck. Now, all these cards could be potentially fine, but I'm going to make room for some more consistently good options. Going to be cutting the copy of Fire Amp. Just seems like a weird thing to only play one of your 1-drop if you're going to be playing a 1-drop, and we are, by the way. 2 copies of Enchanted Plate. I don't even mind this card too much in aggressive decks. I just think there are better cards to be playing, but having a bit of draw in these decks is nice. We do already have options for draw in Aela's Huntmate and the Triumphant Jarls, so I don't think Enchanted Plate really needs to be in this version. I'm also going to be cutting the 3 copies of Lurking Crocodile. I do like this card quite a bit. There are some other cards we could be playing instead of it, though. I will give a nod to one other aggressive 2-drop that's very similar in Protector of the Innocent, which also has some good defensive capabilities as well. This is from Fall of the Dark Brotherhood, though, so I won't be able to include it in today's deck, but if you do have this card, I probably would play it over the Croc, but I have some other ideas for the slot anyway. The next cards I'm going to be removing are also in the 2-cost section, the 1 Orc Clan Captain and the 2 copies of Stormcloak Vanguard. This might be a little bit confusing. You've probably seen both these cards in a lot of aggressive decks that use strength before, and they both are very strong aggro red cards. I just think they benefit more. They kind of go hand in hand, really. I think Orc Clan Captain as a buff card benefits either Orc decks, which this is not, no other Orc synergy, or decks that can play a lot of charge guys or tokens. And Vanguard is one of those charge guys that works really well with the Orc Clan Captain, but only taking up these slots in the deck. Vanguard does work well in a deck which has more ways to buff your guys, such as Northwind Outpost, in addition to the Orc Clan Captains as well. So I'm just going to cut these and try to play more cards that can be consistently good throughout all stages of the game. Next thing I'll be cutting is Crushing Blow, which is a fine all-around card, but I think we can have a more specifically good card for this version, maintaining the budget requirements, obviously. Crushing Blow, definitely a fine budget replacement if you're missing even some of the cards I mentioned. Definitely a card you consider keeping in, versatile removal, and can act as some burn from your hand. I'm also going to be removing the 2 copies of Ulfric's Zealot. I don't mind this card, I just think it's a bit fragile at the moment. There's a lot of Sheer Point Dragons going around, a lot of curse effects, fire bolts, namely Sorcerer's Negation is a huge problem for this card because you don't even get the last gasp. So I'm going to be trying to replace this card with maybe even some 3-drops that are a little bit more durable. Durability is pretty key if we want things to keep on the board to hit our opponents turn after turn. The last 3 cards I'm going to be removing before we get into some replacements are going to be the one-ofs, the Child of Hircine, Night Predator, and Ancestor's Battle Axe. I just think these cards are a little bit too clunky. They kind of make a little bit of sense. Child of Hircine I think I like more in Unstoppable Rage decks. Those are some crazy combos you can do with Hircine, getting it to attack tons of times to the face. But in this deck it just seems a bit slow in all honesty. Night Predator even more so. I'm pretty sure they included this card in the deck as sort of a learning tool to say not all epics are great. Would definitely rather play Night Shadow even though it's not a werewolf. Definitely I don't think worth it just for the werewolf tag on it. And Battle Axe can be pretty cool in Arena. I just think the card is a bit overcosted for what we're trying to do and constructed as a deck this aggressive. So now let's get to the fun part, the replacements. I did mention that I was going to maintain having a 1-cost creature in the deck, and for this deck I'm going to be using Sharpshooter's Scout, which I think is kind of in line with what this deck wants to be doing. That 1 damage ping, obviously it's also a prophecy, can help us fight against other aggressive decks, but also this works very well in the same way Mudcrab, Ankle Snapper, and Afflicted Elite work well, and that is getting value out of our werewolf cards early. All these cards like the Circle Initiate and the Grimshield Brother, Companion Harbinger, all these cards require you to break one of your opponent's runes, so a Sharpshooter Scout can help you do that by just adding that 1 extra bit of damage. Your opponent's at 26 and you need to get past that rune, so your Circle Initiate can hit for 4. That's the card that can help you do it, and it also can combo, you know, we have the Rapid Shots and the Sharpshooter Scouts now, so we do have a fair bit of removal for other small guys like I mentioned. Next thing I'm going to be doing is replacing some of the other cards with solid cards for the early turns of the curve, turns 2 and 3 specifically. I already mentioned Protector of the Innocent as a fine option, but that is from the Fall of the Dark Brotherhood. I will be including Dragontail Savior. This card is just good overall, and I think it's especially good right now due to the prevalence of token decks on the ladder. And I'm also going to be taking this opportunity to max out Afflicted Elite, which I like for many of the same reasons as Sharpshooter Scout. This card can add a lot of damage at the end of the game. We did lose Crushing Blow, so we can supplement that sort of with a 3rd Afflicted Elite. Gotta make sure to use the regular copy there for consistency. Obviously consistency is very important in these decks, but Afflicted Elite into Circle Initiate can make it an easy 4-3 as early as turn 2 if we ring out the Afflicted Elite first, and it gives us that extra bit of reach as well. So then we move on to the 3-cost cards, since I think we have a really solid selection of 2s. That's 15 since we're maxing out all of them for consistency. Dark Guardian is definitely a consideration, but it is from the Fall of the Dark Brotherhood. If you're running into aggro decks and you do have the Fall of the Dark Brotherhood, well, you have access to a lot of great cards, and one of them is the Dark Guardian, which I do recommend. But I'll be including 3 copies of Haunting Spirit as well as 3 copies of Young Mammoth. These are kind of the go-to endurance 3-drops for any mid-range endurance using deck. You'll see me play them in my constructed mid-range sorcerer deck and mid-range warrior deck. These are just fantastic, hard to deal with threats, and that's basically what this deck's about early. So this will really help us fight for the board and start pushing the damage we want to be pushing. The last thing we need to replace is a bit of our mid-game. This deck does want to take it a bit slower than a traditional aggro deck, so it's going to be nice to have some powerful plays, and Whiterun Protector helps us a lot in that respect. But we do only have the 2 copies of Triumphant Jarl, so since we also removed the Enchanted Plates, I'm going to be taking this opportunity to play the 3rd copy of Triumphant Jarl, one of the best ways we can reload our hand in the late game, and we can also use this opportunity to play 3 copies of Blackworm Necromancer, and this is a great way to reload our board in the late game. We'll probably be ahead on life. If we're not ahead on life, at the time we can usually play a Triumphant Jarl or Blackworm Necromancer with our Magicka, then it's probably not a game we could turn around with this deck anyway. We don't really have any ways to catch back up, but these cards are the get ahead and stay ahead cards, both in cards to play on the board and just playing stuff from our discard pile. This card doesn't have the greatest interactions with Sharpshooter Scout. We'd like to probably not get that back more often than not, but now we have some really beefy 2s and 3s we just added, as well as the other werewolves that are fantastic to get back with the Blackworm Necromancer. So while these cards don't say werewolf on them, I do think they are perfect for the deck, and the werewolf synergies are sort of secondary anyway. So that's it for the replacements, and before we get into some games in casual to see if we can't take some wins and talk about the lines of play, I'd like to talk about a couple cards that we're not playing that we definitely could be if we have them. I did mention a couple of the Fall of the Dark Brotherhood cards already, like Protector of the Innocent and Dark Guardian. Shadowfen Priest, we're only playing the one of, definitely could be more copies of that, or even Earthbone Spinner could be an even better option for Silence because it does cost less, and I think that's a priority for a deck such as this. I'd also like to mention Reeve the Blade Master. Reeve Blade Master, actually, one of the best 4-drops in the game, and we are kind of weak on turn 4. We have the Aela's Huntmaid, which is great, don't get me wrong, but a lot of the best 4s are legendary, like the Reeve, or even the Garnag from Fall of the Dark Brotherhood, which I definitely recommend if you have Fall of the Dark Brotherhood. This just should be in the deck, probably. Lumbering Ogrems, Preserver of the Roots, there's a lot of options out there. I would probably go with Reeve, Garnag, and a set of Earthbone Spinners personally for our 4-drops, but there are a lot of options out there that just don't meet the requirements of the Budget-ify videos. You could also even play a little bit of a different late game than we're playing. We're playing Black Worms and Jarls. You could go for Bone Colossus, which is great against control decks, and Nahagleave, similarly great against control decks, Belligerent Giants, Savage Ogres. We played this in a bunch of aggro decks before in the Budget-ify series. Again, a lot of great options out there. This is just a starting point, and I think it's a bit more consistent than what we were given in the first pre-constructed deck. So let's take it to casual and see if we can't get some wins. And as always, if you've enjoyed the video and enjoy the games, feel free to leave a like, stay subscribed to the channel for more Legends content, follow my stream in the description. I'll see you guys next time. So hopefully these replacements we made give the deck a bit more of a consistent early start. Definitely want to get on the board swinging early. Ironically, I don't think we want Sharpshooter Scout in our opener, unless it's a very specific kind of matchup. And we don't have the ring, so I don't want to keep any 3s. We have 15 wonderful 2-drops it'd be nice to mulligan into. We did get a couple. Alright, let's start with the Windkeep Spellsword. Resilient card. Hopefully get a couple swings in with it. He missed. And we drew Haunting Spirit, which is kind of the perfect follow-up. Definitely happy to see that new card in the deck. Fair enough. But it's so hard to deal with Haunting Spirit appropriately to where it doesn't give something +3/+3.
The forest is ours.
It's making an attempt. Just cannot hit a nimble ally to save his life. Unfortunate for him, very fortunate for us. So we will be trading with the non-damaged one. And I think we can play the Dragon Tail Savior, let that get the buff, and just go for Afflicted Alit in the Shadow lane. Keep it safe so hopefully it can attack next turn. It looks like White Rim Protector is well set up to get its effect. Also, all these werewolf cards have amazing premiums, by the way, so if you're in any way a fan of the premium cards, I'm definitely a fan of the premium cards. I think I actually have this entire deck premium minus Aela the Huntress and maybe the Companion Harbinger, but yeah, the premiums of the werewolves, they're quite nice. They might change your mind on premiums. Alright, so Young Dragonborn. I actually got a buff kinda recently in a patch. I'll just be playing the White Rim Protector over in the right so it can't attack my Afflicted Alit. And then we did draw one of the other new cards in the deck, Blackworm Necromancer, which has a pretty adequate array of cards we could get back with it. He finally hit a nimble ally, but it is a bit late for it to be too good. That is kind of annoying. Can't lie. It's very annoying. So do we want to go for the Blackworm Necromancer now? It'd be nice to try to get this back with it next turn. That's definitely an option. We could just play the Mudcrab and the Aela's Huntress. Or Huntmate, excuse me. These names. Yeah, too bad this isn't a Sharpshooter Scout. We could kill that 1/1 and go face for some more. Definitely like to be hitting for 6 this turn if we could help it. But I think we can just play the Huntmate and the Mudcrab. I think I might play the Mudcrab left but keep the Huntmate right to protect it from Cliff Racer. We're not getting the effect right now, the transformation, unfortunately, so it would be nice to, do our best to guarantee that we can get the draw next turn at least. And it will be slightly larger than the Dragonborn, or it should be at least. He's searching for a shout. Maybe it's the red one so he can't play it. Unrelenting Force. I know the names of the cards, guys, I promise. You guys know I know them. Not usually one to half-ass the names, but for whatever reason. Just got done like a 6-hour stream, I guess, that's it. Word Wall, oh god. Got the Drain Vitality.
The forest is ours.
So we have a 1 in 5 to get it back with the Blackworm Necromancer. Alright, let's attack with the Mudcrab first and get the draw. I think that's the correct way to start. And then we can kill the Word Wall already. Alright, so I think now's the time we Necromancer in case we get back Dragon Tail Saber to get the full buff. I think that is the line. Haunting Spirit, not bad. I would call that probably the second best right there, outside of the Protector. Seems good. So 6 cost adds 7/7 to the board, which can then turn into even more stats. Our opponent's probably feeling the pressure right now, even though he's got a trade on the Mudcrab. Level 2 Unrelenting Force. And he's getting his Young Dragonborn buff. It's not really funny, it's just kind of funny because I remember that no one played it when it was a 3-2, and it's actually starting to see a bit of play, which is cool. Definitely a cool thing. Direwolf's not afraid to rebalance some cards positively as well. We could draw, but I think I'm actually just a fan of, well, I'm not a huge fan of taking this trade, but it kind of needs to be done. Then we can just go for Haunting Spirit, Circle Initiate, and that's a really annoying board to deal with. It's kind of almost worth splitting lanes in case he has level 3 of Unrelenting Force, so I think I'm probably going to do that. But besides that, I think this is probably just what we need to do. We could, instead of one of the Hunting Spirits, we could play Morkul Gatekeeper and try to protect it. It's actually, no, I don't think so. And again, just leaving it open because Archer has a ton of charge creatures, even though this is kind of a strange version of Archer. Could still be playing Cliff Racer. You know, Tazcad, who knows? Not Tazcad this turn, of course. And also to mitigate the effects of level 3 Unrelenting Force, Dova of the Voice. 8 damage on boards. Not a bad draw. Do we want to cycle, or do we want to save Rapid Shot for something potentially more viable? I think we cycle here because we could get one of our more powerful 6-drop or 5-drop plays. Or another one of those, which I definitely like. Let's go ahead and play them both. And attack with our 2 Haunting Spirits first, so we get the full damage out of this Circle Initiate. That is quite good, I think. And the only downside of this is Haunting Spirit does have a little bit better interactions if you flood an entire lane. Like if I had all of these in the same lane, for example, I could attack face with 1 Haunting Spirit, or attack whatever with 1 Haunting Spirit, and then play something from my hand, sacrificing a Haunting Spirit, and as long as the +3/+3 buff went on something that I didn't just play, which can happen, it would give me more damage to push with. So that's something you'd like to consider, but I was kind of playing around Unrelenting Force there, which usually is not a thing you have to play around whatsoever. Got a mage this time. Now control mage, if we were in ranked, definitely is not what we want to be queuing into. I don't think, at least. Not a great start. We do have a spell sword, one of our ideal 2s, and the ring. The rest of the hand is questionable so far, but it can work out. Yeah, I'm just gonna have faith that we'll draw one of our copious amounts of 2s or 3s, and just get this on the board early, start hitting. It's very important to deal that incremental damage to set up for our werewolves, which does make up the rest of our hand. 2-drop or 3-drop? 6-drop isn't exactly not what I was looking for. It'll have to do. God, this hand just got a lot worse. Not having a 3-drop here is kind of gross, actually, or a 2-drop or 3-drop, because we can't activate the Aela's Huntmate next turn. Might actually be Control Mage. Something good? Well, that would have been perfect last turn. Unfortunately, not quite as good right now, but I think I'll still play it over the raw Huntmate if we expect him to play cards like Lightning Bolt or Crushing Blow. This could not always be the worst. If he removes both of these, it's the worst. Could even kill that Daggerfall on the left, which I think I'll do, and I think I'll just play the Whiterun Protector instead of that. Well, now I don't have the choice. Yeah, I guess I just have to go face. It's unfortunate, because then he can just tome up and trade. So I guess I can play Protector in the right, but then he's just going to play Javelin? That's where I'm going to put it. Hopefully this doesn't go terribly wrong. It's going terribly wrong. I wonder what would convince someone to play a fully built control mage in casual. Is it just to complete a quest? I mean, it's not a bad deck that you can just do it in ranked. And there's the lightning bolt that we were worried about either way. Alright, some powerful plays coming up. Actually, not horrible plays, for being honest. We can just go like, I don't know, Mud Crab, Circle Initiate, play Aela's Huntmaid next turn. Could just play Jarl, but I don't think we need to yet.
I am ready to join the circle.
Please don't have Ice Storm, which isn't even like that great of an Ice Storm, but it is pretty annoying for what we're trying to do here.
Let's shed some light on the problem.
Soul Split. It's not exactly what I thought we were up against. We can smack in Jarl. We could even play Aela the Huntress now, but I don't think there's anything that we need to kill. He does have Tome of Alteration. But, shouldn't really change my plan, right? Kind of forced in the Shadow Lane because of the tomes, though.
I have you now.
That healing was actually very critical because we can actually use Aela to ping the face. The 1 damage to the face, then kill the 5/2 with it. But we can't do it now. So we're kind of just forced to play a 4 cost and a 3 cost.
Ride them down.
And unfortunately not get any value out of our werewolves.
The spirit of his glamour.
I'm just gonna set up and hope it's good enough.
I have you now.
Doesn't look like it's gonna be good enough. Definitely not. All 3 lightning bolts. Not ideal. We do have another Jarl though. Let's get right back to it. I think. If I could play all 3 of these, I probably would instead. But I can't. Makes Ice Storm a bit worse at least.
I have you now.
He's going in. That's actually kind of strange. No prophecies to punish too hard though. Oh, he's gonna reset with Ice Storm, I guess. Well, I might be okay with this. I mean, if he doesn't have Manticore to follow up with. It's a very blue deck. Maybe he's actually going mono blue. Would that be insane? Maybe a little bit.
Care to join me on the hunt? I am ready to join.
Try to play around Dawn's Wrath, I guess. This could actually sometimes be okay. He gave me a lot of cards that I don't think I would have given me in his shoes. This schemer, I would have done that first.
Nice try. Care to go again?
Feeling the unseen cheese. We officially have to play around every action in the game. Now we have to play around every card in the game. Jeez. That escalated quickly. Guess we take the draw first.
Now the hunt really begins.
So, yeah, let's just hit for 4. I think that's fine. Dragon Tail, Afflicted. I don't know how much lane placement really matters. Oh yeah, I could have gotten this card's effect. Forgot how these worked, but it's okay because it won't be the only thing on board next turn, and we will be able to just stack with any of our other number of cards before that gets drained. Jeez, need to stop recording these at the end of the day and start recording these at the beginning of the day. I was just trying to make sure, you know, if you can play creatures after you break runes, that's usually ideal. Usually ideal, not in the case of Grimshield Brother. So you would have played that one first, then waited on the rest of them till the till the rest of the attacks had gone through. The rest of the runes had been broken, the prophecies had been tested for. But it looks like we might actually win.
Let's shed some light.
This definitely started out kinda questionable. Maybe not a traditional control mage, but definitely what I would call a control mage, nonetheless. I was gonna say it might actually have worked out that we didn't get the effect there, because as a 2-3 we could use it to get him down to exactly 6 and then hit him for 6, so that actually might have been like an accidental rewarding of my misplay, my clear misplay. But worked out nonetheless. So hopefully you enjoyed some Budget-ify of the Aela's Companions deck, and I'll see you next time.